guys, welcome to this week's video where we are talking all things transformation. Now, something that you may have noticed in my social media over the past year or two is my gradual transformation back to my more natural self. This image is how I looked not so long ago. You might think that I am two different people. You may judge my appearance now versus my appearance then as something very different. The stereotypes that are attached to how we look as an appearance. And I wanted to address how sharing my life in the public eye on social media, how I have followed my path throughout life to get to where I am today. As an influencer, really stripping back my appearance and embracing a more natural side of me. So starting out in social media, I actually built my following based on being a single mum, having my two children, and working out after having my babies. So I've been vegetarian since the age of 5, classified myself as vegan in my 20s because the term didn't really exist before then, but never had fish, didn't eat eggs, and really disliked dairy because I actually have a dairy intolerance. So when I discovered that as an adult, it all made sense why I avoided all of these things anyway. So being vegan, lacking muscle, always being very slim and shapeless, I really wanted to be fit and healthy after having my children. Being a single parent really was a struggle for me. Having my daughter at the age of 20, it was the week before my 20th birthday, so technically I was a teenage mum for 7 days. When I was 19, she was due on my 20th birthday, but came a week early, just to be that little bit unique. Having my son by the age of 25, and bodybuilding to gain stamina, strength, energy, turning to nutrition because parents need to be superhuman to deal with night feeds and also work. Part of my ethos in life is to work and raise my children, not to do one or the other. And I know there is this massive stigma attached to mothers. Are you career focused or are you child focused? When you have a baby, should you put the child first and financially support them by working, or should you go on to benefits and stay at home, be a stay-at-home mum, dedicate all of your time, effort and energy to your children? Me being me, I wanted to do it all. I had bags of enthusiasm, and I just needed those bags of energy to keep me going, to be able to marry those two worlds. So working as an influencer, I worked from home whilst raising the children, which was the perfect mix for me. And I know that not a lot of people can work from home. It was an industry that was only just beginning back now that my children are almost 16 and 11. So it's a few years ago. The internet had sort of begun with social media. We had MySpace and things like that, so it was quite different to how we are today in social media. I think you have a lot more opportunity to work from home and work remotely, especially since the pandemic. But back when I had my children and I was young and alone, working from home really was a brand new thing, and most people didn't see that as an option. Or they would try to work part-time, working at schools, reading to children, lunchtime monitors, cleaners, working in a cafe, things like that. So I knew that I wanted to continue to study as well as work and raise the children and work out. So I had a lot of desires and goals and dreams, and I didn't see that parenthood should put that to one side. That actually, if I did it correctly, I could do everything at once. And it's the way that I've always been. If I want something, I will work tirelessly, endlessly, until I achieve it. So for me, that was really motivational in my life. So I shared these photos, sweating, stretch marks, looking out of shape after giving birth. I was very slim before having my children. I've always been a size 8 at my smallest. I was a size 6, which is a UK size. Now I'm still a size 8, so many years later. But yes, I really wanted to show people that being a parent doesn't end your life. Being a single parent does not end your life. It actually makes your life so much more rewarding and gave me purpose and motivation to work hard, to study and further my education, and to provide the best life possible for my children. So starting off sharing these pictures of working out with the babies on my hips and clinging onto my ankles as I'm doing pull-ups and things, I think most people hadn't shown that level of openness and honesty before. So it was quite well received. People would be very supportive, they would tell me, good for you, you know. Some women would say, well, I've just had a baby and I haven't even got out of bed, I haven't washed my hair in weeks, and I'm really struggling to cope with a lack of sleep, and my husband helps wherever he can. So they say, you know, I wouldn't know how you can cope on your own, having to do that without somebody 50-50 taking that responsibility for you. You know, they were very kind to me and they just said, you must be superwoman, you must be superhuman. And that felt lovely for people to be supportive when I lacked that support network for early motherhood. I did my best, but you know, you always think, am I good enough? So it was really nice to see people just being kind, other mothers being really nice and supportive towards me, and even men saying, you know, well done, you still look beautiful even though you've had a baby. So I wasn't looking for validation, I was just sharing my journey and my story, because in a way it held me accountable for my actions. So I wasn't doing it to brag or to be told that I'm amazing. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to be held accountable for my own actions. And that really gave me that foundation to keep working hard. I've always loved writing since I was a child. It's something that when I got my first typewriter, you could not stop me from writing. And I guess when you're a thoughtful person, the way that you express that is through talking about things, writing things, creating things. And I remember having a live journal years ago, having MySpace, and then eventually having my own blog. And I would write about how my day had gone. It felt very therapeutic journaling. Now it's become a hugely mindful thing, but back then, 16 years ago, it wasn't really talked about. So you either did it or you didn't. Whereas today, I think it's far more encouraged as a way for us to express ourselves and to share with others what we go through and what things mean to us. It was just a more human approach, really. Nobody around me had babies. So that was a really niche part of my life where everybody at the age of 19 and 20 were going out getting drunk, spending loads of money on holidays, on cars, on designer clothes. And I was working, doing night feeds, studying. I had literally nothing for myself. Everything went to my children, which is what I wanted because I wasn't a selfish person. So I didn't feel the need to spend £100 on a night out, which now sounds ridiculous. But back then, you know, it's what all of my friends were doing. So they would go on dates and they would get married, and I was just home with my children, living by myself, paying for everything myself, having no help and support to take half of the responsibility or half of the financial burden. It all just fell on my shoulders at a very young age. So as the years went by, the children grew up, they got older, they became more independent, and I finally got snippets of time for myself. So it started with being able to join a gym, having a gym membership, when the children would be at school, at nursery for 3 hours a day, and then on to school for 6 hours a day. I would be able to go and have a workout, like me time, which was amazing. Obviously, mountains of housework. I studied throughout my whole children's lives. I study every single year and add to my education. It's something that I just personally love. So always prepping for exams, always revising and learning course material. It was nice to do that during the day rather than in the early hours of the morning or late evenings when I had to fit around the children. I actually had my own time and space, which was really, really lovely. Joining the gym, I then got into weightlifting, and everybody said to me, as a vegan, there is no way that you can build muscle. You need to eat meat, you need to have dairy, you need to take protein shakes. This scrawny mother of two will not achieve anything. And that was really tough for me to hear. So I always felt very strongly that just because I'm a woman, just because I'm a mother, doesn't mean that I can't do what another woman could do who doesn't have children, or another man could do. Because we are all individual, we are all unique, and gender and career path and parenthood should not make a difference to your potential in life. The more that people said you can't do something, the more I had to prove myself right. Not that I wanted to say I told you so, not that I wanted revenge or to make a point to have status and power. It wasn't that, it was to show myself that anything is achievable and to have faith in myself, to believe in myself. Normally when we try something, we start off being not very good at it. We might fail, especially in fitness, we might feel sore, we may have an injury because we've done something wrong, we have poor form, and it can be really hard to make a change to your lifestyle, to something that you're not familiar with. Definitely fitness, when you look at how many people start a New Year's resolution, the gyms are busy in January, by February it's empty, you know, in comparison, because we jump so fast into something new that we're not actually adjusted and prepared for it. So the reality is that we burn out, we find it too difficult, and we kind of see every excuse not to continue. So working out from home, I had home fitness DVDs. I would put on a DVD every lunchtime and work out, then I would study, then I'd go collect the children from school, make dinner, do housework, homework, reading stories and putting them to bed. So I had this regimented routine where I would make sure all of the most important things I had to do were fit into my day. This means I haven't seen television in years. Only now recently I've actually started watching like Netflix and things, but at that point I wouldn't watch soap operas, I wouldn't watch random reality TV shows. That to me was wasted time. So my time was spent in books, studying, learning new things, learning a new language, learning a new skill set, putting my health and fitness first. So I've always cooked my meals from scratch. I've always bought and prepared fresh vegetables. Every meal that we have is vegan friendly. It's full of energy. So in that sense, I wasn't lethargic. I wasn't fighting myself against my own diet because my diet was very healthy. I'd have smoothies, drink green tea, make salads and soups and lentil dishes. So I had lots of natural plant-based protein in my diet. I just needed to build muscle. It wasn't really a case of losing weight for me. I'd already shifted my baby weight through being active and healthy, but I was scrawny, as I always had been. So really the ultimate goal for me in fitness was to be able to build muscle. Moving on from my home workouts, I then joined a gym and, as only I could, contacted a world champion bodybuilder to be my personal coach and my personal trainer. I got it into my head that I wanted to do a bodybuilding show, that even if I didn't place anywhere, the journey was inspiring. To be surrounded by people who had achieved such amazing things would elevate my mindset. It made me believe I could be superhuman, that sensation of being super strong. And when I would take the children out in their buggies and strollers and prams even, I would go to descend or ascend a staircase and people would rush to help me. Oh, let me lift that for you, let me carry your shopping bags. I would say, no, I've got it, it's fine. Pick up the whole pushchair, carry them down the stairs, set them down. And people would be like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I carried my children until they were 8, 9 years old. They would just go on my back, I'd put them on my shoulders, I would just play with them, pick them up, throw them in the air. So doing all these things, lifting shopping bags deliberately as a workout, I wouldn't take a trolley, I would take a basket and carry it on purpose. It really did build into this strength training that became a part of everyday life, and simple things that would have been difficult before, that would have worn me out, like pushing a buggy up a hill. When you've done that 100 or 1,000 times, you can power walk that buggy up the hill. It really does make a massive difference. And it made my days far easier to have that strength because everything felt like less of a challenge. I could just do it without breaking a sweat or without being out of breath. So that really made a difference. Training for my bodybuilding show and then having to work away during parts of my training. Being a social influencer at that time, I was working away filming a television show where I had to stay at a venue for 2 weeks, had no access to the outside world. I had no access to what food they would supply for me. I just said vegetables please, but couldn't go and get my favorite protein, couldn't go and get a bag of lentils. It literally was, you know, you've got some bananas and some bread. This is what we bought for you. So I couldn't be as strict with my diet because of that. But I needed to work to pay my bills, to raise my children. And I tried my best to fit everything in. So when it got to my bodybuilding show, I think I'd had about 5 weeks after returning from working away. And then I could be in full control of my diet and exercise. I still trained whilst I was away, but had no access to a gym. So it was body weight training, jump squats, yoga, sprinting on the spot, you know, anything that I could do to try and maintain my results whilst getting ready for my first ever competition. So taking place, I just remember being surrounded by the most incredible athletes, all amateur, but they were in amazing shape and I was in so much awe. I think I had face ache just from smiling at everybody saying like, your muscles are amazing, look how great you look. And then I remember being on stage. It was a very long day. We started in the morning and through all of the rounds and categories, it took hours and hours. So it got to the evening. I was feeling a little bit lightheaded as I hadn't eaten a lot because you are just constantly going through your categories. You can't disappear, you have to be lined up and regimented. And I remember standing on the stage and they were calling out, you know, in third place and second place and first place for all the categories, and my hands were red raw from clapping for people and cheering, and it was just a really energetic, amazing experience. But all stood on the stage at the very end. And when my name was called, I almost didn't twig that it was me that was being called up, that I'd placed in second place. I really did not think or expect that I would come anywhere in any of the contests because I knew it was my first ever time. I knew that I had 2 children and other people weren't parents. I knew that I'd been working away and didn't have 100% control of my diet, which I would have loved to have done. I knew that I didn't have access to a gym for 2 weeks. All of these things, I had already told myself, it doesn't matter that you don't place, it's the taking part that counts. It's the journey that is so valuable. So when my name was called, I literally took a few seconds to register. People were tapping me on the shoulders like, yay, well done. And even accepting my trophy, it just felt so surreal. I have it in my toilet downstairs actually, just on the shelf as you do. And it's a really nice reminder that you can do anything you put your mind to. Qualifying in life coaching, stress reduction, neuro-linguistic programming, the law of attraction, social media marketing, helping businesses, moving into aesthetics. All of these things have been so amazing and it's built who I am today. So beginning in the world of cosmetics, I've always had very raised moles, which sounds really random. But when I would have a mole or a freckle, it would bump up. And so many times I would go to scratch or just, you know, move something or take your clothes when you're getting undressed, and I would catch a nail on a mole and make it bleed. I actually had a mole removed on my foot, which was the arch of my foot as a child. I remember being awake for it, being at my local GP, and they used a scalpel, they injected the arch of my foot with a needle, and it felt horrible, the tugging, the sewing. But they said because this large lumpy mole on your foot is rubbing on your school shoes, you can actually have a very dangerous mole if it's left as is. So they actually dug the mole out, took it away, and that was my first ever experience of something cosmetic. It wasn't because as a child I had an ugly mole on my foot, but it was actually, if you keep traumatizing a mole, it can lead to becoming cancerous. So having that removed at the age of 5, possibly 6 years old, I knew that moles were dangerous. All of my moles were lumpy. I had several moles around my body, and still do now. But as an adult, every now and then, I'd say every couple of months or so, I would catch one of them on a piece of jewellery or nails, or just doing everyday tasks. So going to a clinic to have my moles skimmed flat, so just the bump taken off, that again was my soft introduction into aesthetics. I then had a few cysts removed, which are basically blocked follicles that go hard and raised and lumpy. They become quite tender, and it's not the most glamorous thing, but again, that became normal to say, I'm just prone to cysts and moles, so I'll have them flattened and cut off. It doesn't change your appearance, but it does mean that you're not going to bleed accidentally when you go about your daily life. I also had my eyes lasered because I had very bad vision, quite severe headaches. I would always feel a lot of tension around my eyes, and having them lasered really made a difference. It gave me 20/20 vision and was a lot safer for driving, for life in general. When you have 2 young children, you wear glasses. I think most people realise they get pulled off, they get dribbled on, spat on, and snapped and broken. So it made sense for me practically to do these things. As the children grew up then, and I became more financially secure as a single parent, I'd worked for so many years, qualified in lots of different things, so I had a better income. I then was able to spend more time on myself, going to the gym. I became a bodybuilding professional. And then I thought, you know, I've got a bit more expendable income. I don't drink and party. I don't smoke. I don't take drugs. So maybe I'll just do something and get pampered, you know. I went and had my nails painted at a salon rather than by myself, when I would chip them, and you know, when you're washing the floor and you just wreck your nails. So going to a salon, having nails painted, the polish lasted 2 weeks instead of 2 days, and I felt a bit more preened and glamorous. I would go to the hairdresser instead of using the kitchen scissors to cut my own hair. I would go and have a tan when I would feel that I was very white and pasty and my veins would show through my skin. I had eyelash extensions. I would buy myself new clothes, designer clothes. And to be raised in a family and to have a childhood where you only had what you needed, not what you wanted. I didn't have many luxuries growing up. So it was, you know, this is all that's necessary, so that's what you'll have. Anything else is a waste. It's throwing money away. So even as an adult now, you know, I found myself in a world where I had almost 5 million social media followers across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. When you combine them all together, it's a lot of followers. And other influencers had Ferraris and would wear designer clothes and go to beautiful holidays. And I thought, wow, this is a whole different world for me. This is very different to the upbringing that I've had. I was raised by a Catholic family in the countryside. We grew our own vegetables. We had to use imagination rather than toys and things in our childhood. So I was used to not having a lot, but being very grateful for that, being very humble and down to earth about that. Then I was thrown into this social media. You know, from me wanting to inspire people to then suddenly having loads of followers, been invited to award ceremonies, red carpets, dream holidays, all of these things. I was influenced to make more of an effort with my appearance, you know, have my nails painted, have a tan, have eyelashes, wear more confident, revealing clothes even. But equally at that time, everybody around me was very colourful, very extroverted, very confident and sure of themselves. They had a lot of status and power, and they liked to wear designer clothes and have flash things and almost brag about their lives. And social media became, at that time, several years ago, a place to show the very best part of your life. So whilst people may be at home feeling miserable, they would post a picture of when they'd been partying at the weekend, looking and feeling their best. So the world became quite shallow and superficial. And in that process, I was carried away from my natural self, in the sense that other things were available to me that I had never had before. To be pampered and preened and to have expendable income. My children still had everything they ever needed and wanted, and what was left was for me. single mothers, you know, can have a bad reputation that they are spending the money on themselves rather than their children. I'm very much the other way around. I've never felt that I've wanted anything because I didn't have it growing up, so I didn't miss what I'd never had. So for me to then turn to design labels, I remember visiting family and they said, oh, I really like your shoes. They're really nice, aren't they? And I think they were Gucci or something. And they said, oh, they look expensive. And I remember saying, oh, no, they were in the sale and they're really, really cheap, like £20. Like, yeah, they just look expensive. And they said, oh, well, will you get me a pair then? I'll send you the money. And I was thinking, oh my God, it's so unnecessary, you know, to have things that cost so much more. And I really felt like there was this conflict in the way I'd been raised and the way that I had been in social media. The work that I did was beautiful big houses and holidays and cars, but my humble upbringing, it was such a disparity. Where did I sit with that? Where did I fit? So having the children at a young age, being 19 turning 20, my friends all had holidays and partying and all of these things that I missed out on. So I got that in my late 20s instead. It was deferred 10 years whilst raising the children. Then I was able to actually say, now I'm going to go on holiday. Now I'm going to spend money on my appearance, have some Botox, have some surgery that I felt that I wanted. Different things like that were now available to me. So people then said to me on social media, well, when I followed you, you didn't look like you do today. So I'm not happy with how you've changed. And I was quite shocked at first, thinking, well, how have I offended people with my appearance? Because I had peroxide blonde hair. I wanted to have my hair brighter because I had a tan and my hair looked quite dark. So instead of having highlights, I had my whole hair changed to blonde. And people would say, no, that's not the real you. That's not the natural you. I'm going to unfollow you. You've sold out. You're fake. And I thought to myself, well, if other people around me have had their hair dyed, if other people are wearing perfume, wearing high heels, why can't I? You know, I didn't do that in my youth. Why can't I do that now? And who is to tell me that I'm not allowed? It doesn't make me any more or less of a parent or more or less of a woman to be able to choose this for myself. And I think if you were to look back at your own life, how you were as a teenager or a child, you would see that it's very different to how you were in your 20s or your 30s or 40s and beyond. Physically, your appearance. You may have been very slim as a child and gained weight later in life. You may have made some fashion faux pas. I definitely, my eyebrows, non-existent as a teenager. Interesting haircuts and colours that you wouldn't choose for yourself now. But equally, in making those decisions, in being gothic or punk rock or emo or whatever categories exist, in doing that, it's made you the person that you are today. So my childhood was deferred because I had a family young. And then in my late 20s, I had my teens. I was able to do what everybody else had done, just a little bit delayed. So I had blonde hair, I had brown hair, I went to a dark orange hair, ginger hair, because my family are Irish and Hungarian, and a lot of my family have flame orange hair naturally. So I felt that in learning to speak the language of Hungarian to understand my origins, I also wanted to honour my Irish heritage and embrace orange hair because I thought it was beautiful. Not a dark brown orange, this was a flame orange, and I loved it. I was a redhead for a couple of years and just finding who I am as a person, trying different looks, trying different fashion. I lived the majority of my life in sportswear, in loose baggy clothes, which then became lycra clothes. I went from feeling ashamed of my body after having babies to then loving my body and being body confident. And the way that we express that is different for every individual. Whether that's putting on lots of makeup to feel really glam and to go out, or wearing something tight and revealing to show your weight loss, to say, oh my God, I feel good, I'm proud of what I've achieved. You know, we all show our happiness in different ways, our confidence and self-acceptance. But my followers were saying to me, as well as strangers online, well, you didn't have to do this before to be happy. So you must really hate yourself and be so miserable that you have to show off to other people for validation, for status and power. And I'd say, well, no, I'm the same person. Just because I've dyed my hair or I'm wearing lipstick today doesn't mean that I want attention. It's just how I choose to dress today. It's how I choose to look today. You know, I didn't look like that every day. I didn't wake up looking like a Barbie doll every day. I had my hair tied up, I was in jogging bottoms, and I was playing with my dogs on the floor. You know, I wasn't walking around in ball gowns. But people would assume because you've shared that your life is that way, and it's really not true. Your life is a series of individual snippets, from the very basic, most natural, this is how I wake up, to the this is me on a red carpet, look how glamorous I look, and I'm taking off my shoes as soon as I get home because my feet kill. So all of these things in between, when you are feeling like a mother, a wife, a partner, a daughter, you are 100 different things all at the same time. And to be stereotyped or typecast as this one perfect thing, nobody is perfect, and that isn't realistic. So when I would share things on social media, instead of people praising my weight loss after having children, instead of people praising me building muscle and becoming a professional bodybuilder, people would attack me. And they would say, you looking the way that you look makes other women feel bad. It makes them think that their husbands are going to DM you and try and have an affair with you. It makes mothers feel ashamed that they can't study and work and raise their children. You make them feel like failures. You having nail extensions makes you look like you are an easy woman, that you don't care who you sleep with. You know, all of these accusations were thrown at me simply for my appearance, for this layer of skin on the surface, when my heart, my mind, my soul was no different to who I've always been. But me finding my outward appearance had caused so much offence and hatred to people. People told me to kill myself. They constantly insulted me, made fake accounts to troll me. People just felt so free and happy to attack me online, to troll me, to call me ugly, to say your beauty can be removed with one wet wipe. All that is makeup. You are fake, you are insecure, you're attention seeking, you are desperate to have validation from others, you just want to be beautiful. And none of those things were true. None of those things represented who I am as a person, simply because of a glamorous outward appearance. And yes, to be told that I made women feel inferior because of my body shape, my hair colour, my choice of clothing, that was really upsetting to hear. But something that hurt me even more than that, when I've always been so supportive of others, regardless of what we are going through, people are always going through far worse. There is always somebody who would be desperate to be in your shoes. When you think it's the end of the world, they see that as their saviour. You know, to then be told that I am a bad influence on children was really horrible as a mother, to be put in that frame of you are an influencer and you are a bad influence. First of all, me being me choosing how I wanted to look, I wasn't hurting anybody. I didn't break any laws. I didn't do anything that other people were not already doing. And I actually had 3, maybe 4 social media accounts banned, blocked, removed because of my appearance. So if women were in swimwear, just walking on the beach, if I posted a video in swimwear walking on the beach, because of my curves, because of my tattoos, it was considered sexually explicit adult content. I wasn't doing anything different, just walking along. If I was in gym wear, I'd be doing press-ups or pull-ups. That would be blocked as explicit adult content. But other women were wearing the same gym set as me, which was fashionable, leggings and a sports bra. I wasn't any more revealed than anybody else. I wasn't doing anything inappropriate, but I was constantly attacked and flagged because of my appearance made me look like a porn star. Because my name is Kiss, Tracy Kiss, you're a porn star. And I've never done porn in my life. I've spoken about body confidence, about self-acceptance, about not feeling ashamed to love the skin that you were in. But people felt the need to attack and ultimately to say, you are a social influencer and you are a bad influence to young girls because they will believe in order to be popular or beautiful, they have to look like you. I would like to say I haven't been influenced by anybody in my life, but actually the reality is I've been influenced by everything in my life. Every person, every event, every experience, everything I've seen and viewed has gone in on a subconscious level and made me who I am today. And with 8 billion people in this world, with God knows how many hours of interactions and memories, that all does have an impact on you. I agree with that. But equally, just because a relative of mine went off the rails doesn't mean that I will. Just because a relative of mine likes to have a few too many glasses of wine doesn't mean that I will. You know, if that were the case, then should we not hold our neighbours, our relatives, school teachers, people we pass in the street, should we not hold them accountable for their appearance? Because if what we are offended by is the appearance of others, then surely everybody is an influence that has the opportunity to be a bad influence. When I look at other women on a night out and they're in mini dresses and they've got beautiful, flawless makeup and they look like supermodels, I don't feel the need to hate on them. I don't tell them that my daughter will be insecure because of their existence. It's unfair that we put our problems onto others. The fact that people feel the need to contact strangers online and attack them for their appearance and call them a bad influence is so unfair. Think back over your own life, how you were as a child, a teenager when you're hormonal, how you've been after a breakup when you're heartbroken and you think, God, I'm just gonna go on a night out, see the girls get dressed up and have a nice time. Think of everything you have ever been in your life. And think if you are a good influence to young children, to young impressionable children. And the answer is no. Nobody would be a good influence because we're all human. We all have faults and flaws. And just because you see somebody that you think looks glamorous or attractive or beautiful or successful, doesn't mean that you should feel bad. Doesn't mean that you should feel inferior or that you should say it's a fake or false projection of perfection. You should just say that's them and I'm me. I haven't personally wanted to look like everybody I've ever met. I haven't ever tried to mimic other people. I've simply seen, you know, some people are quiet, some people are loud. Some people are very glamorous, some people are very natural. So what? It doesn't affect who I am as a person. I might see something that I like, but I don't clone that. And equally, everything we have ever been subjected to is going to imprint on us as people. So you can't say that one person is a bad influence on anybody because all they are doing is living their life as you should live yours. So when I was feeling glamorous and loving having bright blonde hair and being at that part in my life where as an influencer, I was doing more glamorous things, you know, wearing pretty dresses and high heels and things that I wouldn't do in my daily life, but was in that area for work. I enjoyed it. It made me feel good. Equally, I would come home, take my makeup off and play with my children and dogs. I didn't feel any less good. I loved my life, regardless of how I looked. When people would say to me, you are fake, you are superficial, how can you talk about loving yourself when you're clearly very insecure with your appearance, hence why you need all of this makeup and hair extensions and false nails. And then I realised, well, I don't need it, do I? I don't need to be high maintenance. I don't need to have a pedicure. It's not essential to my life. Whether I have it or not, I still love my life. So then I began to naturally just strip back those things and had a few years, 2-3 years of being glam and enjoying that stage of my life. And then I thought to myself, if I'm getting so much hatred and abuse for this, it's not worth being treated that way mentally, physically, emotionally. I didn't deserve to be attacked for my fashion choices. So to then say, okay, I won't have peroxide blonde hair, I'll just go back to having a few highlights because otherwise I feel dark and washed out with my natural hair colour. I won't straighten my hair, I won't wear hair extensions anymore. I'll take my nail extensions off. I won't wear lipstick because I don't need any of these things. I won't have a spray tan, I don't need it. Equally, I still want to love myself and take care of myself, just as I would when I want to treat my children, my animals, you know. Oh, I bought you something that I know you will love, here's your favourite book, or here's a dog bone because you're such a good boy. We still deserve to treat ourselves well. Okay, I won't go to the nail bar, I won't go to the hair salon, I won't wear designer clothes anymore. But I'll still be kind to myself, I'll still read books and go for walks and have a workout. I just don't need to share that with people, because if people are offended by my life, I don't need to share my life with people. I don't need to justify that I'm not what they accuse me of. I can simply be me without worrying about other people. And actually that was a process in my life where it just made me feel more in touch with myself. To say, if you accuse me of only being beautiful with makeup on, I'll show you that I'm okay without makeup, because I'm happy regardless. It makes no difference to me what you think or accuse me of. So I loved having bright blonde hair, I loved having orange hair, I loved having brown hair. It was just a part of my life. And I love being my natural colour now. This first time I've been my natural colour since I was a teenager, my late teens. The difference I noticed in the way that I've been treated is huge. When I had peroxide blonde hair or wore the colour pink, I would say these words and people would say that I'm attention seeking. When I take my nails off, have my natural hair colour, I say the very same words and people say you are inspiring, good for you. It's the same words, it's the same actions. I am the same person, but it's received so differently, so severely polar opposite. It's shocking that people are so judgmental on appearance. Now, I might want to wear glittery eyeshadow one day, and I will still do that when I feel like doing it. But my day-to-day life, removing the things that made me pampered and preened and feeling like I'm maintained, you know, removing that from my life has saved me time and money, of course. You know, I would spend hours at the hair salon, nails, hair, tan, all of those things that cost a lot of money, the upkeep and the dedication to being maintained. Now I've saved myself that time. Am I now stripped back just to please other people? It's something that I have considered. Would I have done this had I not have received so much hate? I think eventually I would have just naturally cycled through trying different looks, trying different styles, learning as I grow. Throughout life we are constantly changing. I think I would have naturally found my way back to where I am today, but perhaps it would have been slightly delayed. Perhaps it would have been in 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 years later. Who is to say what would have happened had people have not been so hateful towards me? But it's a necessary part of the process to grow into who you are, to try all of these different things and then decide at the end, this is where I felt most comfortable and what I loved most. We have to go to both ends of the spectrum, very natural and very glam, to then see where we find our happy medium, what works for us. And some people in their 70s have big bright pearls and beads and funky hairdos and a purple rinse, and they smile every day. Other people don't wear makeup at all. They rock having grey hair, they wear mismatching clothes, and they just love being their quirky, kooky, natural selves. Who is to say who is the happiest? Because we all measure happiness and success in different ways. To me, happiness and success isn't based on how much financial wealth you can display. It is not a material possession. To me, happiness and success is waking up and loving your life. And regardless of where I've been in life, I've always felt that gratitude. I've always felt that I want to jump out of bed in the morning and see what the day holds. That opportunity to be able to do and achieve anything has never left me. Fair enough, I may have looked different throughout my life, but my life is my life. And it's made me who I am. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm not ashamed. I don't feel the need to have any regrets or apologize for being me. But I think the takeaway that I would like you to have from this, if you're watching to this duration of the video, is to be yourself and to explore yourself, experiment, understand all of the different aspects of you. You are not just one thing, you are a whole spectrum of beautiful colour, and you shouldn't deny yourself 90% of who you really are because you're stuck on that 10%. You're stuck in a rut of this is what I know and this is how I've always been. Experience the entire spectrum and then decide how you choose to live. Decide how you choose to look, how you feel the most you. And that's what's really important. And I will continue to live my life not judging others, not feeling the need to please others, not feeling the need to feel inferior to others or to wish badness upon others, just to be myself. So I will continue to be myself as I always have been, to express myself through words, through blogs, through diaries, and to grow, to learn. Up until my final day, I will always want to learn. I will always be thirsty for knowledge and want to make a positive difference to the world. So thank you for joining. I hope that this has given you food for thought and explained wherever you have come across me in your own personal journey through life, wherever you have been in contact with my content or got to know me as a person, that you can see life is a journey. It is process. There is progress. And we don't stay physically the same for the rest of our lives. We will age. We will have different tastes and interests that we didn't know about in our youth. You know, to me now, a night out isn't going to a nightclub. It's having a nice meal, saxophones, pianos, going to the theatre, going home at a reasonable hour, being asleep by 11 p.m. You know, it's very different to how I felt in my 20s and earlier than that. So grow into who you are as a person and recognise that changing as you go through these different formations of who you are, your soul is the same, your outward appearance may change, but it's all a part of who you are, and it makes you the person that you are today. To experience these things, to assess how you feel about them, and then to decide what to do next. We would not be ourselves had we not have gone through it. So wherever you are in your journey, embrace change, embrace yourself, love yourself, and always be kind to yourself and others. Until next time, take care, and I will see you all soon.